Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today we are going to be discussing the deep state 13 labs that Putin is getting rid of. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and David can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. David, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to, sir?
Oh, Nick, it's been crazy. I talked to you a couple of weeks ago. Everything that's going on in Eastern Europe now between the Ukraine and Russia is just exploding. And have you noticed how our little 2-year lockdown experiment has just died a death? It's gone overnight, up and disappeared.
I know. People are just,
isn't it?
Yeah, people are saying, there's a war in, Ukraine and Russia and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hello, we've been in everyone's like, actually, we've been in a war for 2 years. You've just realized.
Yeah, well, some people have been in it more than others, but it's fascinating, buddy, because I think you woke up a little bit later than me, but I've been tracking all this stuff for probably all my life, but really on a big level, the last 15 to 20 years, I've been watching all of this, and I understand how the political moves play their chess and everything, but it's, again, what's the biggest emotion this has caused, Nick? And it's division. Again, we're either pro-Ukraine or pro-Russia, but the narrative is 1,000% pushing, let's go to war, The mainstream media are just, it's embarrassing, the rubbish that they put out. Every single post they put out, all you got to do is copy it and put it into Google Pics to see if it's ever been used before. But I've got 30 or 40 of these pictures that I've been showing and debunking them straight away. Like, have you gone through some of these with any of your other interviewers, bud?
With this topic with Ukraine?
Well, just the fake media pushing photographs to try and make the public swallow what they want you to swallow. Has anybody gone through them with you?
Not specifically this one, but I'm going to I've spoken a lot about the Ukraine and Russia with my other guests.
Yeah.
But not specifically about, how the media are fabricating. And also I have to be careful with my words, because this is a new topic now, and I don't know if they've added new words to the AI to flag up.
Right,
I want to say the neo N word.
Yeah.
But let's just say the deep state in Ukraine. Okay, the deep state in Ukraine are attacking their own, and they're saying that it's Russia. Putin, and they're making it look as if that the Putin's bad, but really he's getting rid of the deep state in Ukraine, the labs, and much more. There's 13 labs, and they found that they were trying to create something to put in the air that could potentially harm and get rid of 100% of everyone on this planet.
Well, there was two particular experiments that we're working on. One of them is when you get bitten by a dog and you have to take a shot for it. They were trying to turn that into an airborne pathogen. That's number one. And number two was the greatest, scariest one that was sweeping through Europe. The last time it was here in 1666, and that nursery rhyme, Ring a Ring a Rosies, was designed after it. So they discovered that they were both experimenting and developing airborne pathogens of these two absolutely terrible issues.
We have to be with that P word you just used. We have to be very careful with that word as well.
All right, it's another word.
I know, it's just
airborne infection. Can you say that?
No, not even that. No. Because you're talking about medical, anything.
Do you want to hit stop and we'll start again then?
No, it's fine. I can go back. Don't worry. It's just one word. Don't worry. It's fine.
Let me take it back to there.
Something in the air that could that could be bad for us.
All right, there we go. So Nick, they found very, very strong evidence that there was two experimental bases that what they were doing was trying to develop an airborne infection. Yeah,
we won't use that word though.
All right, they were trying to develop an airborne issue that, you know, when you get bitten by a wild animal, that problem, they were trying to develop that. And also the problem that was sweeping through Europe in 1666, which was the worst thing humanity's ever seen. And they were also trying to make that an air problem. So the documentation has been out there, and Putin has specifically said he's named and shamed. We can't talk about it here, what he's actually said, the words, but if you dig hard enough and out there, it's actually on there. So he's taken out all of these facilities where there is the deep state evidence, all points what they were doing. So he's been doing a great job at that. So the biggest thing was he's warned NATO for years and years, saying, do not push nuclear weapons on the doorstep and porch of Mother Russia, is what he said. And they've ignored it. And if you go back to history, if you look what happened in Cuba in the 1960s when John F. Kennedy was in there, Russia were doing the same thing. They were putting nukes on the doorstep of the USA, and America went bananas about it, and it brought the whole world to a brink of annihilation, more or less. There nearly was an outbreak of war, but it calmed down at the last minute because they removed them. But he's been doing the same thing. He says, look, he said this yesterday. He said, we do not invade 10,000 kilometers from Russian border. We protect our borders. We are not the aggressors. We are not running around the world in an aggressive manner trying to take what is not ours. You see, Russia has 27 military bases worldwide, and the USA has 750. But why the State Department were funding these particular deep state facilities to help them develop these incredibly dangerous items, you know, there's no excuse for that. You can't say it was for the benefit of humanity, because what they were doing is morally wrong. And this is where it's all come to now. But speaking of morally wrong, Nick, what's morally wrong is how bad the mainstream media are. I mean, their lies that they're pumping out to the public to try and get them all based and all building this hatred towards Russia is just, it's beyond shame. It's beyond shame.
But you know what's happened? You know, the media, I've noticed something. The media, when something happens with the white hats, the media has to, their job is to brainwash the masses. Yeah. And when there's a big story that the white hats have done, or they're exposing the deep state, the media has to do everything they can to keep the people brainwashed. But you know what I realized? They can't keep people, they are so busy with brainwashing the people with what's happening with Russia, Ukraine. Yeah. They don't have time to continue with the other one. Yeah. The C. Yeah, it's C-19. They don't have time. And you know what? I think that the white hats, they already knew that this was going to happen, that they needed to get in to get those 13 labs out. They already knew that. Now, and I think that the white hats were waiting for the right time to end the other narrative.
Yeah. No, we're all on the same vision as that, my friend. You're not wrong, Nick. But you see, what I've been doing is you never hear what the other side is saying, because as soon as you turn the television on, I'll give you some examples. You've probably all seen the photograph of the little girl in a pink coat holding a teddy bear, waving to the Ukrainian troops as they go off. And it says, you know, family says goodbye to the troops. That photograph's from 2016 when there was a problem in Donbass. Mm-hmm. So that's not a picture from today. The woman that's covered in blood in front of a destroyed building, that was an actress that you can see in about 7 different photographs being pro-Ukrainian, again, taken in 2018 at a gas explosion where the building blew apart. It's nothing to do with what's going on now. But that was on the front page of the New York Post, the New York Times, the Guardian, the Mail, the Sun. It was on every single newspaper worldwide. So you can see the mainstream media taking one photograph and putting it all around the world. It was not even in the Ukraine, that explosion, and it was in 2018. The tank that crushed the car, they said, look at this Russian tank, all of a sudden it's going to go and destroy this car. That was actually a Ukrainian anti-air missile defense military vehicle that lost control, and the person inside that vehicle survived. So I can go on, Nick. What about, I mean, they're using video games.
Yeah, I heard
that they're down. I've got all these videos. I've been putting them out. I've been showing them on my channel that what they're trying to do is to drive a huge wedge again to divide people. Because, you know, now you're seeing people with Ukrainian stickers on their cars and Russian stickers on their cars. And if you go on some of the groups, they're all like, F you, and who do you think you are? It's screaming at each other because they're just getting their information from mainstream media. Now, I like to talk facts, Nick. And here's a fact, okay? I've got some military background experience as a private person that was hired to do a job by military people. Now, I'm still very much in touch with a lot of these guys that are still active. For example, a good friend of mine is still on the ground in Libya. He's a private contractor, ex-army in Libya now doing security detail. And another friend of mine here that lives in Spain said to me, Mahoney, yesterday I got a call from my old employer, and they're offering $2,000 a day for military personnel to go in to the Ukraine because they're evacuating people. Now, who do you think is going to pay $2,000 a day to get themselves smuggled and evacuated out across the border? It's not normal citizens, mate. If you're a normal citizen, you can leave the country because Putin said that. The people that are paying big money like this to get themselves out are the people that don't want to be discovered and they're in hiding. So $2,000 a day. He said no, thank God. He's a good friend of mine. He's got a family now. But the majority of these incidents that we're seeing, that they're saying, oh, the Russians have been blowing this up and the Russians have done that. Most of the Ukrainian soldiers have not really been putting up much resistance because they know it's kind of futile, and they're all kind of distant cousins, they're brothers, you know, there's not much difference between them. Now, the people that are fighting are the private mercenary contractors that have been commissioned by the deep state to protect these particular facilities we've been talking about. And there's not just these facilities, Nick. There's other stuff as well, like buildings. They rescued 23 children from a building where there was no adults in there, just some armed guards. And 2 of these children were Americans, kids that have been repatriated. They're trying to identify the rest of them. So there is this problem with missing children there as well, which they're getting into too. So although you might think Putin doesn't have a great history of being particularly forgiving, as many people have told stories about people disappearing if you go against Putin. But we're talking about what he's actually doing on a day-to-day basis now. And what he's doing now, in my opinion, is cleaning out the biggest dirtball, trash, scum, pond life you can, because the Ukraine is a hive of corruption and child trafficking, drug laundering, money laundering, you name it. That's the Wild West, and it's a paradise for any criminal wannabe hideaway.
Yeah, the other great thing I want to stress is that Putin specifically said that the special military operation is going to plan. And when I hear Michelle Fielding saying that 75% of the countries around the world have signed into Nasara Jasara, if you want to call it that, it might be called something else, I don't know. She says the other 25% needs to be cleaned out, and that's what's going on right now. And it's going to plan. What do you think about that?
I absolutely do. And all you've got to do is go back through history. I've got so much, my knowledge of this has just exploded over the last 10 days, 2 weeks since it's happened. For example, small little statistics, the Ukraine was the biggest contributor to the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation with $10 million. That's on the Wall Street Journal. Those figures are published. They were the biggest donator to them, okay? Joe Biden's son was a major shareholder in an energy company there. And there's a recorded interview of Biden say, well, wouldn't you know it, the son of a bitch just quit and then they got the loan. So there was a prosecutor that was bringing a case against Hunter for the stuff he's been doing. And Biden told him that I'm not going to guarantee this $1 billion loan unless you fire your prosecutor and drop the case with my son, which happened. There's a recording of Biden actually saying it. You can see it's him. The corruption that stretched past into this, all you got to do is watch all the people that are screaming and jumping up and down in the aisles of power, mate. And they're all the people that are losing all of this. Putin says some amazing speeches. And here's another weird thing. We talked about the white hats. If you look at the Russian flag, in the middle of it, there's a crest. Have you seen this, Nick?
I have seen it, yeah. And it's to do with a sword or something and a reptilian on the floor.
There's a man in a white suit and a white hat, and the horse has got its foot and crushing and killing a reptilian.
That's right.
A white hat killing a reptilian.
That's it.
And there's all sorts of things. Numerology. If you take the date of when the First World War started and add it up, and if you did the same thing with World War II and the same time that Putin invaded, they all come to 68. I was going to call Tom Numbers about it. I don't know if he's actually done it, but somebody sent me that today on a handwritten bit of paper. It all comes to 68. I don't know what the significance of 68, but how weird is that? All 68. I don't think this is going to get anywhere near World War III. I think there's going to be a lot of peacocking and pushing the feathers out and look at me. But NATO are not going to do anything. All these countries that are going, yeah, we're going to send them some Stinger missiles. Germany was sent, how many? I think 300. I don't know how many. I've forgotten the number. But did they really? Did they really? Have you seen the invoice? Because you hear it in the papers and the press, but you don't know if they've done that for sure. This is all bullshit, I think.
I think their World War III has failed, and now they're really upset, and they're and really it's backfired because World War III is destroying the deep state. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, and
it's not attacking civilians like World War I and World War II. World War III is let's get rid of the deep state now.
Absolutely. Lots of stories. I've been taking pictures. I do a live show myself every Tuesday. And some of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Listen to this. Moscow. Russia began active preparations for disconnection from the global internet. No later than March 11th, all servers and domains must be transferred to the Russian zone. Now, the USA more or less controls most of the internet. So Russia know they're about to get hit with that. So what they've done is they've got their own internet set up, and I've got the Russian documents, and I've had them legitimately checked by a Russian person today, and it's exactly what they say. I've got photographs of that. I'm going to put them on there. What else have I got on there?
Do you think that might be Starlink, that they said Elon Musk is implementing in Ukraine to help the people? Whereas I think that's a story for the public because he was going to do it anyway for, the quantum financial system as a new internet. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible because we know that Musk has said he's activated over the Ukraine and it's on their border. So, if you think in the satellite, say, how much is it to go that way and just a little bit more that way? It's no big deal. You see, the Russian foreign minister and also Putin give a lot of speeches every day, but they don't get broadcast on the Western media. For example, they've released some documents that NATO are running high-altitude manless drone operations over the Donbass incident a couple of years ago, and all those documents have been found on an abandoned laptop that they found that they were trying to burn. So they got into the laptop, extracted the files from it, and have seen all of this NATO deep state authorization to run missions over Russia, over the Ukraine. So they brought that out as well because NATO have been giving the Ukrainian army intel about where these freedom fighters in Odessa, down in Donbass were. So NATO, and this is all sanctioned through the White House, Nick. It wasn't in Trump's day. This was in different days, recently. And then I'm going to try to read this out carefully. This is from ASB News, military breaking news. It says, breaking. Russia publishes documents which show Ukraine were working on specialized weapons. Yeah, we talked about near the Russian borders, such as, I can't say that word, and I can't say that word. This is a word that, you remember there was a white powder they kept trying to post to people in office buildings. It's also the name of a rock band. And then the one I talked about, Ring a Ring of Rosies in 1666, when it wiped out London and beyond. And that these particular experiments have violated one UN article prohibiting the use of such airborne. And they're all funded. The documents show clearly that these were funded by the State Department, the American State Department, who is wasn't in Trump's. This is going back, before that. This was the Obama administration. And these are documents that you can check. The American embassy removed all of the 17 pages of documentation showing where these particular facilities were located in the Ukraine. There was 3 in Kiev, 2 in Odessa and beyond. Now, they were removed off the website, but luckily, people like you and me managed to get copies of them. So they're all out there if people want to know, if they don't just want to go, see no evil, hear no evil. They don't want to, they just don't want to know, Nick. And they cannot accept it because they've been lied to for the last 2 years about you know what and putting a mask on and everything. And now every time they open a newspaper or turn the television on and get on any social media, it's just a photograph of some horrible incident that happened in a different country 5 years ago. And they're using video games to try and make people believe that this is what's really going on.
Well, it brings me to my next question. I mean, Putin said that he's got all the evidence and he's going to show it to the world when the world is ready to listen to him. Do you think that will be on mainstream, or how do you think that's going to get out there?
No, I don't think anybody wants. I think he'll try to get it out. It'll be there for the people that want to see it. But if you watch the interview with what's he called it, the foreign minister Landrud, I can never remember his name. He's brilliant at speaking. He was being attacked by a BBC reporter the other day. Now, he basically picked her up, blew his nose with her, and threw her back out while straightening his tie and his composition remained respectful. They made one of their representatives fly for a meeting. The Ukrainians asked for a meeting, and when the Russian envoy got there, they didn't turn up. So they're trying to keep the peace. And the speeches that Putin's giving, saying, look, if you're in the military, put your weapons down. Don't point a gun at us because you're going to get fired on. And the reports are coming out now. This is from another war correspondent from a very reputable, used to be reputable. She says, look, I came here expecting to see carnage and bloodbath and rape, pillage, and murder from the Russians, but all I see is them helping them and trying to figure out how they can do this without any bloodshed. This story about the Russians attacking a kindergarten, come on, man. You know what? Putin's had these locations targeted for a long time. He knows exactly where these facilities are. And he used strategic weapons to take them out, and then he sent in the ground forces to clean it up. Even that nuclear power station that he grabbed hold of the other day, they were trying to make a big deal out of that. Has it melted? Has it been a nuclear incident? No, he said, carry on maintaining the safety of this facility. We're clearing out the people that are here protecting it because we want to see what's inside. And all these years when America have been saying weapons of mass destruction, Saddam, Gaddafi, and what was it in Iraq as well, in Afghanistan, they never found any weapons of mass destruction, yet they've been funding them in a country on the borders of Russia. It's so much of a two-faced, sneaky little rat move, Putin said something else. He said, listen, I think it's funny that you're listening to a leader whose son has been with every prostitute in the world smoking crack cocaine on video. Everybody sees it, but now he is a respectable man. He's right. Yeah. American politics, this deep state-run military mighty complex have just turned into such absolute trash, Nick. It's so difficult for Americans to accept it. It's difficult for us to accept it because they've always been, for us, the leader of the Western free world. But all the time, 750 military bases have been used for covert, hidden, dark, negative, satanic agendas. And now it's becoming to come out. It's incredible.
Even RT News was taken off the other day permanently off our televisions, which is a Russian channel. They were reporting, they were playing their optics too, but they were very, very clean in comparison to the other channels. And many people know RT News. What do you think about that? I mean, that's a censorship on another level, isn't it? But then we've had, and because of that, don't you think it's a coincidence or too much of a coincidence that Putin removes the BBC from Russia?
Well, again, nobody wants to see fake news. It's all about controlling what people see. So Putin's saying, and he said it, your Western media is shameless. Trump spoke about it many times, how it's fake news. I mean, I've got videos of a reporter giving a report with body bags, and one of the guys in the body bags decides he's had enough and he just gets up and walks out on it. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So Putin's decided to ban the BBC because, what they're doing is they're just slating him and absolute outright lying. They are not reporting what's going on for real. And RTE, RT Today, Russia Today news, is that I think they're trying to be a little bit more in the, non-biased. I mean, they were doing a pretty good job. And then the West have said, oh, hold on, that's making Putin look quite good. We're not going to have that. But there's also a tit for tat. Now all the McDonald's have closed down. IKEA's closed down. They're closing that. They keep going on about the SWIFT system closed down. The SWIFT system's been dead for about 4 months. Mm-hmm. The end of last year, it was gone. So Putin doesn't give a monkeys about the SWIFT system. Mm. What is a shame, Nick, is all of these innocent Russians that are caught up into it worldwide, because now they're feeling the wrath of this stupid sheep that believe this trash on television. A Russian woman that drives her kids to school near me, her car was set on fire by a bunch of bloody soccer moms because they're bunch of Karens. So, yeah, them stopping Russia Today is clear censorship. I don't believe in any censorship if it's presented truthful, but I don't blame them for banning the BBC. They're shameless.
Absolutely. They should all be banned because, they're lying to the people. Like Trump says, they are the enemy of the people.
Absolutely, they are. Where's it going to go next, Nick, is a good question. I mean, I heard what Michelle Fielding said. I always like watching her. She won't do an interview with me because she's too busy with you.
It's got nothing to do with me.
I'm coming for you. No, I've asked her to have a chat with me. I want to do a little interview with her to talk about her backstory because she's brilliant. So we had something booked and then it kind of, everybody got too busy. But yeah, Michelle, if you're watching, I want to talk to you.
She's lovely. She is. Who knows what will happen beyond? I mean, we're going to hear another propaganda after this,
Well, yeah, I kind of know where it's going, Nick. They're going to go into Taiwan after this.
I think we're going to have, I did speak to Michelle on the phone yesterday and she said that this cleanup of the deep state, we're going to see a lot of it. We're going to see a lot of propaganda, and she reckons that we are going to see, 1 or 2 more years of this. But at least, things, we'll be seeing things. We'll have things to talk about. We'll be seeing progress. We'll be getting, things like Putin telling us that things are going to plan and things will be coming out and people will be waking up,
It's
I think it's going in that direction. But like Starlink has come to fruition, with the implementation of Starlink. I don't want to go too much into it because Michelle wants to do a video on her own discussing Starlink. So I don't want to say too much about that. But watch out for her video. She's really good with that,
Starlink. You don't want to talk about, I'm going to talk Starlink all night. Starlink. No, I'm not actually fully convinced about Starlink. The problem is I don't really get a particularly good feeling from, I can't figure out if Musk is good or bad. And everybody's saying, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. But then as soon as he says something, Bitcoin goes up or Bitcoin goes down. I don't know. He's a bit of a strange character.
With Elon Musk, I've heard that he's apolitical. He doesn't have a political agenda, but he has his own agenda with pursuing his technologies and what he wants to do. But I think he's working for the White Hats.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to get a bit more of a vibe off from that direction.
There was a message that I got the other day. Let me see if I can find it. Let's have a look. Let me see. It was actually, I think that's it. It was Elon Musk. He says, Starlink has been told by some governments, not Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint.
Huh.
So could be protecting himself when he's saying gunpoint, but there you go. I don't know. We have to wait and see.
It's an interesting form to put that, isn't it? At gunpoint, which means if we do block it, it means that they've got literally something to my head, the blackmail material. It's certainly very interesting times. And I'm watching what's going to happen with Taiwan now, because I don't believe, you see, anything that we've been led to believe, whatever the Americans before, I mean, I'm talking Obama administration and now the Biden administration, Anybody that they've said are bad news, like Iran, for example, we're going to go into Iran, the goddamn Iranians. I think it's probably the other way around. Like North Korea, it was amazing that Trump got to go into North Korea and meet Jim Yong-kun. I've said that wrong. I had it actually right, and I said it wrong. I won't go back.
I won't even try.
Kim Jong-un, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. Now I've convinced myself I don't know. But he got in there and had a meeting with him. Nobody else has ever done that. And it ended up being some sort of agreement. Taiwan's the same, because why, the pushing, Taiwan is amazing. They're nice guys. They need our help. But you can guarantee when they're saying stuff like that it's the opposite. Because the intel that I'm getting is that it's another, that's the eastern den of iniquity, Sodom and Gomorrah, full of child trafficking and drug laundering and the usual mafia and every terrible sin you can think of being committed there. So I think the intel that I'm receiving is telling us that they're going to go down there next, because Ukraine's only going to take 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, and here's another one I heard. They're saying that nobody's actually seen Zelensky for a few days, and they reckon he's already split the country and he's got over the border into Poland, because Poland tend to be quite sympathetic towards the Ukraine. So I don't even think he's still there, buddy. I think he's already done one. Have you seen how bad he's on TV? He's going... And then there's another one. He's completely out of it. I mean, I think the guy's high as a kite most of the time. He's taking something just to keep him awake. And they should see the television stuff he's done. There's an advert, his advertising campaign before he got elected was him coming out at his parliament, pulling out 2 huge, have you seen that? Submachine pistols and emptying 2 full clips into all his political opponents sitting in the crowd like a scene from Scarface. And then there's that weird video of him dressed in leather where he's jumping around like he's,
unless he's been taken out, because when the mainstream media says that they want to assassinate Putin, maybe really the other way, it's happening the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, they'll never ever get next to you. Who in the right mind is going to try? You'll never get next to Putin, and Putin's just sitting back watching the whole thing go back.
I think Putin is a very strong leader. I think that he's a real proper alpha. He's got very strong leadership.
Well, I do too. But I like what he's doing now. But some of the stuff he's pulled off in Russia before. I mean, there aren't any political opponents in Russia. There are stories about people disappear that have gone up against him. He's ex-KGB. He's been in power for how many years? At least 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to get carried away and say, look, I'm completely pro-Putin, but I'm pro what he's doing now.
Yeah, well, I agree. We're pro-freedom. Whoever stands for freedom, yeah. Because
at the end of the day, you cannot defend the leader of a country as big and powerful as Russia is by saying, I've warned NATO, don't bring your nukes near and put them on our front porch. We haven't done it to you. You're the guys that are running around all over the world. And here's another thing, Nick. If he really wanted to destroy the Ukraine, and they're turning him into such a monster where he's bombing kindergartens, he would just send in the Air Force and they'd obliterate the whole country in 20 minutes. He hasn't used the Air Force.
Well, he said to his people, the reason why the West or the media in the West, are saying bad things about me and they don't want you to like me is because I told them that the New World Order is not welcome in my land.
Yeah, and he also refused the banking system from the Rothschild banking system. Look, he's rubbed shoulders with Soros and Schwab and all of these people, but it's better, keep your enemies close. I think he's that sort of a shrewd character where you need to look into the eyes of your enemy, because every war, Nick, is started with lies. That's all it starts with. If it was based on truth, there wouldn't be any wars. Mm-hmm. As the generals start assembling and getting ready for it, that's what they're there for. Soldiers are trained to do this. This is what they want to do. And if America gets into a war, there will be billions of dollars all handed out to all the buddies of the Biden administration that are making weapons and shoes and T-shirts and food rations and shipping and the fuel. America makes billions. The country does well when they go to war. And what they haven't had a war since Trump was in power. This is the first time there's been any bit of conflict they're getting involved with. And if you think Biden has any say in any of this, he can't string a sentence together without screwing it up. You know, we stand shoulder to shoulder with these Iranians.
What do you mean? He was saying that that Putin was invading Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Putin can invade Russia. So, you know, he's not got his finger on the button. He doesn't have control of the football with the new codes.
Sometimes I think Biden acts so stupid, especially with that ear, because it's not the other ear from 2015 Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Something wrong. Someone's acting here.
Yeah.
Someone's playing a white hat role. I don't know. But we are going to find out in the future, whether it'll be a few years or 10 years, or we're going to find out. But let's see what happens.
Interesting times, Nick.
It's been an absolute honor to have you once again, and definitely is very exciting times.
Well, let me tell you what I'm doing next, mate. I've got a couple of things. You're trying to cut me off as usual. Get down the pub, aren't you, Nick?
I don't do pubs.
I know, mate. I'm teasing you. I'm going to Ireland on the middle of March. I'm going to be in Ireland filming for St. Patrick's Day. And I'm filming a story about an ancient Egyptian pharaoh called Akhenaten and Nefertiti and her daughter Skosa, and the Stone of Destiny. Stone of Destiny is what sits underneath the Queen's throne. So I'm going there, and I'm meeting Nick Sylvester's coming over, who's fantastic in off-world intel. He rang me tonight and gave me something else very interesting about the Galactic Federation, and they're talking about releasing a lot of very, very good UFO stuff and first contact stuff in the middle of the year. So that's going to be coming out later as well. So I'm going filming, Nick. I'll be, and then I'm going to Mel K's meeting me in Mexico for the burning mass ceremony we're doing with Huna Flash as well. So I'm looking forward to meeting Mel. You have her on the show a lot, don't you?
I do, but she's we're having a small break now because she's doing a lot of traveling and events, and we thought it would be best that she we have a small break so she can do that, and then she can come back whenever she likes. She's welcome, and we can do our shows. Yeah, absolutely, and keep us updated.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to. I'll be doing a couple of live shows with Mel out of Cozumel, Mexico, on May 27, 28, 29. So that'll be fun. But I'll be back in touch with you in a couple of weeks, Nick. We'll talk again. But one message I'd like to give you viewers: question everything. Anytime you see any post that makes you go, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening," take a picture of that picture, put it in Google Pics and search it. And 9 times out of 10, you'll see where it's been used before, and you'll find out the truth. Question everything, and everything they're trying to make you believe, it's the opposite. Because these SOBs will never stop until they are driven back into the swamp from when they came from. You know that, Nick.
Absolutely. Well, David, it's been great. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for
thanks, Nick.
Update.
Always like coming on, doing a quick half an hour, but it's great. You're doing a great job. You're getting the message out, and we'll see you next time. Good night and Godspeed.
Godspeed. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.